Alright, let's get this thing going. Going live on Instagram now. Yo, what is up everyone? Hello, hello. Thanks for joining in. Just so you all know, here on Instagram, I'm also recording this live for a YouTube video. So for any of you that didn't see the Instagram video, you can check it out on my YouTube channel here. I guess that's where you're watching it now. So thank you guys all for joining. Today is the day where we answer all the questions about the Bimetal Shutter. So this has been something you guys have been asking for a very long time. And especially after I did the little teaser on the YouTube channel and was posting that all over social media and blurred the yo-yo out, you guys have been asking all kinds of questions. So I thought, what better way to, answer these questions than to go live and let you guys kind of drive the direction of the video. So that's just what we're going to do. We're going to kind of go over just some basics of what the Bimetal Shutter is, why I decided to come out with the Bimetal Shutter now, and then answer any questions you guys have about it. So to start things off, because the Bimetal Shutter is basically the next step in the shutter legacy, that's kind of what we're going to do, is go back and talk a little bit about what the significance of it is and where it has a place in my line of yo-yos and why it took so long to get here and all of that. So let's kind of go back to this shutter. So we released the shutter back in 2013 before I had won any any national or world contest before. And shortly after that, I won the US Nationals with it. And then a year after that, in 2014, I won the world contest with it. And at that point, bimetal yo-yos were kind of already starting to be on the rise. And so people were asking, where's the Bimetal Shutter? It kind of, at that point, was already to be expected that we would come out with the Bimetal Shutter as the next step. But instead of going that route, I actually decided to go with a plastic yo-yo, the Replay Pro, to go and win the US Nationals the next year. And that kind of followed up with the whole reason why we created the shutter at the price range that it is, because at the time when the shutter released, most yo-yos were priced at around $80 to $100. That was like the price range for the high-level yo-yos. Like high-level competitive precision yo-yos were 80 to 100 bucks. So it was kind of unheard of for a yo-yo of this caliber to be $45. But that's kind of what we really broke the ice on with this, and it helped fuel a lot of the success leading into the future of what this yo-yo became. So instead of going with something more premium or something that was more trending, we decided to further this value that I had of kind of showing that it's not about the price of the yo-yo you have, it's not about how expensive the tools are that you're using, it's about the player, it's about that work that you put in, and you don't need an expensive yo-yo to do well. So that's what I did, is I went and won the US Nationals on the Replay Pro, a $16 yo-yo, and kind of furthered those values, which really I think helped enrich the core, like the whole like backing behind my line of yo-yos. Is I've always wanted to create products that are really, really high performance at the best price possible so that most players can afford to get them. And so that has never really aligned with bimetal yo-yos, because bimetal yo-yos, especially of this caliber, need to be pretty expensive. And so we, over the years, just kept getting questions from people asking, hey, when are you going to do a bimetal shutter? When are you going to do a bimetal shutter? I wish you guys could see I wish you could see my DMs on Instagram of how many people are asking for the bimetal shutter or have asked for it over the last 3 or so years. It's been crazy. But I never wanted to encourage that people needed an expensive yo-yo to be good at yo-yoing. But, it's been, what, how many years has it been since 2013? Yeah, it's been 6 years since the Shutter released, and it's continuing to go strong, but we thought, what better time after freshly winning the World Yo-Yo Contest a second time to continue the Shutter legacy by finally giving the answer and answering the question of what everybody has been asking for, which is this yo-yo right here. And so I know a lot of you guys have questions about the specs about it. Is it a regular shutter? Is it a wide angle? Is it a completely different yo-yo? And that's exactly what we're going to do, is we're going to answer all of those questions here. And so as you guys can see, it is quite a bit of a different shape than either the Bimetal or the Shutter or the Shutter wide angle. And so let's go back real quick. Whoops, almost dropped that. Let's go real quick to these two here. So this is the regular Shutter. This is the wide angle. And as you can see, the shape of the yo-yos are pretty much the same, except like the rim is exactly the same, the shape of the rim there. And then this inner area is what's been stretched out. So that's where the extra width is brought in. But essentially the shape of the yo-yo is pretty much the same. Funny enough, these yo-yos actually play completely different. I think there's pretty much anybody who's into yo-yoing has played with a Shutter. Not necessarily the same thing can be said for the wide angle. I think a lot of players actually haven't really even thrown this, which is kind of funny that that's the case. I think people kind of assume it's the same thing. But really these yo-yos feel completely different when you play with them, even though they are based off of the same shape. So then when you bring the Bimetal into the picture, it actually is a completely, well, it's based off of the same shape, but it's still not the same type of lines and cuts and everything. So you can see it has, like if we compare it to, let's just compare it to the regular Shutter. So it's hard to hold so many yo-yos. Got distracted there for a second. So you can see that the shape of the rim, here, what's the best way to hold this? The shape of the rim here is like, it has the same kind of foundation, but it's actually quite a bit different. So like this one is actually more of like a V kind of shape, but then at the same time, it has more of like a, you know, honestly, I don't even know the best way to describe it, but you can see for yourself the difference in shape. I guess it looks kind of similar on camera here, but in person, this little area right here, right where the step comes from, that is much longer than on the regular Shutter. And so the Bimetal Shutter is actually quite a bit wider than the Shutter, and just slightly less wide than the wide angle. So yeah, so if you compare all of these right next to each other, let's kind of line them up. I can throw a photo up for the YouTube video of this so you can see it better. But basically, you know, it goes up in a line. So like the regular Shutter is a standard width, the wide angle is pretty extreme, but then the Bimetal stands right in the middle of all of of both of those. So it's not too extreme. But it does kind of help you get those tricks down a little bit easier because of a little bit extra width, but it's not going to get in the way of any of your tech tricks or anything. So it's, I would say, the most ideal width for most players. But anyways, enough rambling. I think it's time to get to some of the questions for you guys. I have a couple of the facts written down about this here. So one more thing about this is, when we first decided that we wanted to make this happen, we reached out to Sus Mechanics over in Japan. It's either Sus or Sus, I'm not sure. But so they helped design this yo-yo. So it was designed in Japan with a little bit of refinement for myself. And it didn't really take too much time to actually get the final version of this yo-yo, because on the first prototype it was pretty on point. I kind of started to understand what the Bimetal hype is all about. But anyways, let's get to the questions. So I know you guys have probably been asking all sorts of questions as I've been talking over the last couple minutes. But if you already asked a question, I'm not going to scroll up. I'm just going to start answering them now from when I see this. So somebody asked, okay, things that win the bread. that's a great username, asks, is it going to be called the Bimetal Shutter or is there another name? Yes, it will be called the Bimetal Shutter. I think it's only right. Like I said, it's a continuation of the Shutter legacy, so Bimetal Shutter it is. Maybe we'll do a butter version if you guys are lucky. Okay, let's see. Will it be called butter? No. I thought about it, but no. How much will it be? Now this is the question a lot of you have been asking. So the final price of the yo-yo is $120, which is, we kind of went back and forth on the pricing, but for a bimetal of this caliber, that's kind of on the lower end compared to a lot of like the $150 or more bimetals that are out there. I feel like this yo-yo is right there with those, so we tried to price it a little bit less than those while still bringing such a high level product to the table like this one. So, next. Chico Seasons Jewelry asks, how do you choose which yo-yo you want to play with? Well, that's a pretty good question. So at this point in the line of yo-yos, I kind of have a pretty solid balance. So as everybody knows, shutter is the standard, and bimetal is for a little bit extra width to do those extreme tricks, or wide angle, did I say bimetal? I don't know. And then the bimetal is really the answer to making a super high-end Japanese designed rendition of the shutter. So really I go between all three of them. I guess it's really how I'm feeling that day. I might end up throwing this at ULYC. I should do a freestyle there in the open division. If you guys didn't see the announcement, I will be at ULYC and I'll probably be throwing this on stage. Why go for the outer ring instead of an inner ring like the edge? So the reason of going for the outer ring is because Sus Mechanics actually recommended that we put the rings on the outside because that maximizes how far out on the yo-yo the rims are, and the rims mean if we chose to bring the metal or the stainless steel a little bit into the rim, then that would mean that most of that weight is pushed in further. So I don't really know like total science behind it, but basically that doesn't allow the yo-yo to spin as long as if the weight is pushed toward the end. I guess it gives the yo-yo more power if it's on the end. So that is why we chose for the outer ring. Okay, what is the weight? Yo-Yo Pro John asks. Yo-Yo Pro John, soon to be Gentry Stein Yo-Yo Academy member. Looking forward to working with you, dude. If you guys haven't seen the Gentry Stein Yo-Yo Academy or would like to get more details about that, by the way, John, thanks for the low-key shout out there. You can check it out on gentrystein.com. It is my yo-yo coaching program. It's a lot of fun. I've worked with like 10 different players so far, and they've shown crazy improvements. But anyways, Yo-Yo Pro John asked, what is the weight? Might as well just give you guys the full specs on the yo-yo. The official specs are, the yo-yo is extremely powerful and it spins for a super long time. So it's interesting because the thing I've noticed about this yo-yo is when you're playing with it, it doesn't really feel that heavy. Like when it's in your hand, it feels kind of heavy. When you throw it, it feels kind of heavy. But as you start doing like a speed combo with it, or mess up a speed combo with it, let's try that again. It moves really quick, but it has like a crazy amount of stability. So I don't know exactly how much weight is on the rims. Jeez. But it's pretty perfectly balanced, I'd say, honestly. Can you play with it? Yeah, let's do some tricks on it. Enough talking. Let's see. Ooh! Man, I haven't yo-yoed all day. Let's actually turn this camera up a little bit so they can see. Okay. Let's see. Let's get a solid long combo going with it. Maybe some horizontal action. Whoops. And of course, we got to do a grind to finish it off. Woo! Fairly solid.